Clear your desk. You're done here. 6 words. 24 hours after doing the right thing. Darius Cole stood in the HR office, listening to his 3-year career end with the kind of vague corporate language designed to avoid lawsuits but not accountability. Rewind one day. A break room. A young woman being verbally destroyed by a supervisor twice her age. And Darius making a choice that would cost him everything, before giving him something bigger than he could have imagined. The question isn't what happened. It's this: what would you do if standing up for someone meant losing your job, your income, your stability? Would you speak? Or would you stay silent like everyone else in that room did? This is the story of how one moment of moral courage became a viral reckoning, how injustice tried to win but documentation wouldn't let it, and how a young black man from Alabama turned his firing into a movement that changed workplace culture across America. If you ever stayed silent when you should have spoken up, or paid the price for speaking, this story is for you. Hit that like button, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you think about courage and consequence. The manufacturing plant sat on the edge of Montgomery, Alabama, one of those industrial buildings that looks the same whether you're driving past at dawn or midnight. Inside, it hummed with the sound of machinery and people who'd learned that keeping your head down was the same thing as job security. Darius Cole was 26 and had been a maintenance technician there for 3 years. He was good at his job, the kind of good that doesn't need supervision. He showed up early, stayed late when necessary, and fixed problems before they became emergencies. His supervisors appreciated him. His co-workers respected him. And he'd learned the most important rule of that workplace: don't make waves. It wasn't cowardice. It was calculation. Darius was a black man in a workplace that was slowly, reluctantly diversifying. He knew that his professionalism had to be twice as visible and his mistakes half as tolerated. That's not bitterness. It's math. The kind of equation you learn without anyone teaching it to you. The plant operated on old-school hierarchy. 20-year veterans like Raymond Mitchell ran their departments like personal kingdoms. Raymond was a senior supervisor, the kind of man whose authority had calcified over decades into something he confused with respect. People didn't challenge him, not because he was right, but because the cost of being right against him was too high. This was the world Lila Pierce walked into during the summer of 2014. 21 years old, college junior, office intern. She was there to get credit hours and real-world experience. Eager, nervous, trying too hard the way young people do when they want to prove they belong. The other workers were good people. Mostly, they had families, mortgages, car payments. They'd learned that speaking up in that environment didn't make you brave. It made you unemployed. So they kept their heads down, did their work, and told themselves that staying silent was the same as staying neutral. Darius understood that logic. He'd lived by it for 3 years. But understanding something and agreeing with it aren't always the same thing. The break room had a poster on the bulletin board. Big letters. Workplace respect starts with you. Corporate language that sounded good in meetings and meant nothing on the floor. Darius walked past it every day. Never thought much about it. Until the day it became a test he hadn't known he was taking. Comment below. Have you ever worked somewhere where speaking up felt dangerous? Because what happens next proves that silence has a cost too. Tuesday morning. The break room was crowded. Second shift overlapping with first. People grabbing coffee before heading to their stations. Lila was there, balancing a stack of quarterly reports and a cup of coffee she probably shouldn't have been carrying together. She was trying to help. Nobody had asked her to, but that's what eager interns do. Raymond Mitchell was pouring himself coffee when Lila turned too quickly. Her elbow caught his arm. Not hard, just enough. The coffee in his hand sloshed, spilling across the top 3 reports on her stack. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Lila's voice went high with panic. She set everything down, grabbing napkins, trying to blot the coffee. "I'm so sorry, let me—" "You useless." Raymond's voice cut through the room like a siren. Loud, sharp, designed to humiliate. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. "Do you have any idea what you just did? Those are quarterly reports. Do you understand what that means? Or is thinking too advanced for you?" Lila's face went red. "I'll reprint them. I can—" "You'll reprint them?" Raymond's voice dripped with contempt. You can barely carry coffee without destroying company property. What makes you think you're qualified to do anything in this building? The room was frozen. 20 people watching. Nobody moving. This was how it worked. Raymond's eruptions were legendary. You kept your head down. You waited for it to pass. You definitely didn't get involved. Lila was trying not to cry. Failing. Her hands were shaking as she kept grabbing napkins that were already soaked through. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm really sorry. Sorry doesn't fix incompetence. Sorry doesn't." "Sir." Darius's voice wasn't loud, but in that silent room, it carried. Raymond turned, surprise flickering across his face. Nobody interrupted him. Ever. "It was an accident," Darius said, keeping his voice level professional. "She's apologizing. She's offered to fix it. This isn't necessary." The air pressure in the room changed. This was the moment. The invisible line being crossed, the hierarchy being challenged, the rule everyone understood being broken. Raymond's face darkened. "Excuse me? Are you telling me how to handle my floor?" "I'm saying mistakes happen. She doesn't deserve to be humiliated in front of everyone." 20 seconds of silence. Raymond's jaw worked. His face flushed deeper. In his world, this was mutiny. In front of witnesses. "We'll see who deserves what." Raymond's voice was quiet now. Dangerous. "We'll see." He grabbed his coffee cup, the one that hadn't spilled, and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that somehow felt louder than shouting. Darius looked at Lila. She was staring at him, a mix of gratitude and horror, understanding what he'd just risked, even if she couldn't name exactly. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, walked back to his station. Behind him, conversation slowly restarted, but the volume was different, quieter, more careful. Some people wouldn't meet his eyes as he passed. They were grateful someone had spoken up, but terrified it was him and not them. Others gave small nods, respect, maybe, or recognition. One older woman touched his arm briefly. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Darius went back to work. He knew what was coming. You don't challenge 20 years of unchecked authority without consequences. He'd just rewritten his future in 30 seconds, and he wasn't sure if he'd done something brave or something stupid. Maybe both. If you're already feeling the weight of what's about to happen, hit that subscribe button, because this moment defines everything that comes next. That afternoon felt wrong. Small things. Raymond avoiding the maintenance bay. Conversations stopping when Darius entered rooms. The kind of atmospheric shift that tells you something's moving beneath the surface. Next morning, 8:47 a.m. Email. Please report to HR immediately. Darius knew. Of course he knew. But knowing doesn't prepare you. The HR office was small and personal. 2 people he barely recognized sitting across from him with folders that had clearly been prepared in advance. This wasn't a conversation. It was formality before decision already made. "Darius, we're terminating your employment effective immediately." For what? Policy violation. Insubordination to a supervisor. What policy did I violate, specifically? The HR representative, a woman who wouldn't make eye contact, shuffled papers. Section 4.7 of the Employee Handbook. Failure to follow direct supervisor instructions and disruptive conduct in the workplace. I didn't receive any direct instruction, and the only disruption was a supervisor berating an intern for an accident. We've reviewed the incident. The decision is final. No mention of Raymond's behavior. No acknowledgement of what had actually happened. Just corporate language designed to be legally defensible while morally bankrupt. Darius walked to his locker. 3 years in a cardboard box. Tools he'd bought himself. A photo of his nephew. A coffee mug someone had given him for his birthday. His life at this place, reduced to objects that fit under one arm. People watched. Some looked away. Guilt is easier when you don't make eye contact. Others nodded as he passed. Respect, but silent respect. The kind that doesn't risk anything. Lila was waiting near the exit. Her eyes were red. "This is my fault. I'm going to HR. I'm telling them." "They won't listen," Darius said quietly. "You're an intern. Temporary. They'll wait you out." This isn't right. You defended me, and now I deal with the consequences. But I'd do it again. He meant it, even though his rent was due in 2 weeks, even though his car payment was coming up, even though the job market in Montgomery wasn't exactly flooded with opportunities for maintenance technicians with challenged a supervisor whispered in their reference checks. The parking lot was bright, too bright for a day this dark. Darius sat in his car for 10 minutes before starting the engine, not crying, just processing. The math of his life had just changed dramatically, and he was trying to calculate the new equation. 2 weeks. That's how long he'd been unemployed when the phone rang with another rejection. The Whisper network was fast, he was difficult, caused problems, not a team player. Code 4. He didn't stay in his place. Friends rallied. His church community helped with groceries. His mother slipped him money he knew she couldn't afford to give. But generosity doesn't pay bills forever. Lila finished her internship haunted. Every day at that plant felt like complicity. She'd apologized to Darius 3 times. He told her to stop apologizing. The system had made the choice, not her, but lay at night in his apartment with rejection emails piling up and bills coming due. Darius let himself wonder, was it worth it? The answer was always yes. But yes doesn't make it hurt less. Day 14. Lila was packing up her college apartment when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Local area code. Is this Lila Pierce? The intern from Hartwell Manufacturing. Yes. I have something you need to see. Can we meet? An hour later, in a coffee shop 2 towns over, a middle-aged woman who wouldn't give her full name slid a flash drive across the table. I work in facilities. I have access to the security system. I saved this before they could delete it. The video was 47 seconds long. Break room camera angle. Time stamp. The morning of the incident. Everything captured. Lila's elbow bumping Raymond's arm. The coffee spilling. Her immediate apology. And then Raymond, his face contorted, finger pointed. The verbal assault crystal clear in the audio. Lila shrinking. People watching. Nobody moving. Then Darius, stepping forward. His calm voice. It was an accident. She's apologizing. This isn't necessary. The confrontation. Raymond's threat. The aftermath. Everything. Documented. Undeniable. Why are you giving this to me? Lila asked, because what they did to that young man was wrong. And I'm 2 years from retirement with a mortgage. I can't be the one to share it. But you can. Lila stared at the flash drive like it was both a weapon and a responsibility. That night, she uploaded it, created a Twitter account, posted the video with context. This man was fired 24 hours after this for defending me. His name is Darius Cole, and this is what speaking up costs. Hour 1, friend sharing. Local network activating. Hour 6, regional news picking it up. Viral video shows workplace confrontation leading to firing. Hour 12, national trending. Hashtag justice for Darius. Hashtag workplace retaliation. The narrative wrote itself. A young black man calmly defending a white intern from verbal abuse, then getting fired for it while the abusive supervisor kept his job. Every workplace injustice, every power imbalance, every time someone stayed silent because speaking up was too expensive, it all crystallized in 47 seconds. Comments flooded in. This is every toxic workplace in America. He was fired for being decent. The supervisor is still employed, but the defender isn't? Make it make sense. Civil rights organizations amplified it. Workplace advocacy groups shared it. The video view counter climbed. 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, 2 million. Hartwell Manufacturing's phone system crashed from the volume of calls. Their social media, usually ignored, was suddenly a war zone. Every comment demanding answers. Every post getting ratioed with the video. The company issued a statement. We're reviewing the matter and take workplace conduct seriously. The internet's response, that's not good enough. Boycott threats emerged. Investors started asking questions. The local news camped outside the plant. National outlets picked up the story. This wasn't going away. Drop a comment. Do you think the video would have mattered 10 years earlier, before social media accountability? Because what happens next proves the power of documentation and platforms. Day 18. Darius's phone rang. Hartwell Manufacturing. HR. Mr. Cole, we'd like to discuss your employment status. 2 hours later, he sat in a different office. Bigger. The plant manager was there. Corporate legal counsel on speakerphone. And a prepared statement that had clearly been written by people terrified of lawsuits. Full reinstatement. Back pay for the 18 days. Formal apology. And, reading between the corporate language, Raymond Mitchell had been reassigned to a position where his skills would be better utilized. Translation: demoted, moved off the floor, made an example of. We recognize that our initial response to the incident was inadequate. The manager read from the statement. Mr. Cole demonstrated the exact values we claimed to champion, and we failed to protect him for it. Darius listened, didn't interrupt. When they finished, he spoke. I'll come back, but not because you apologized. Because the people I work with deserve to see that speaking up doesn't have to end your career. And because I want to make sure this never happens to anyone else here. He returned to a different workplace. Not because the building had changed, but because the people in it had. Co-workers who'd stayed silent now spoke to him differently. Not with guilt exactly, but with recognition. He'd risked what they hadn't been willing to risk, and it had mattered. But something else had changed too. Darius had spent 18 days unemployed, watching his bank account shrink and his stress level spike. And in that time, he'd received hundreds of messages, emails, DMs, comments. This happened to me too. I was fired for reporting harassment. I spoke up about safety violations and got let go. Story after story. Different industries, different states, same pattern. People punished for doing right. System protecting those in power over those speaking truth. The media requests kept coming. Morning shows, podcasts, speaking invitations. And Darius realized this moment was bigger than one job at one plant. It was a platform, a chance to turn his firing into something that mattered beyond himself. 6 months later, he launched the Workplace Dignity Project, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting workers facing retaliation for standing up. They provided legal resources, documentation training, advocacy support. His story became the foundation, proof that the system could be beaten, but only when people refused to accept it. Workers from across the country reached out. Tech companies, retail chains, healthcare facilities. The pattern was universal. And slowly, the project started changing things. Policy updates, training programs. Companies realizing that viral accountability was real and expensive. Lila became the volunteer coordinator. I owe him more than I can repay, she told reporters. Darius corrected her every time. You don't owe me anything. You used your platform when you had one. That's what anyone should do. A year later, Darius left Hartwell Manufacturing on his own terms. Not angry, not bitter, but clear that his purpose was bigger than that factory floor. The Workplace Dignity Project was growing, helping people, changing policies, proving that one person's courage could give thousands of others permission to speak. Hartwell became a case study, not in success, but in failure. How not to handle workplace conflict. How prioritizing hierarchy over humanity costs more than just money. Raymond Mitchell's legacy shifted. Not 20 years of service, but one moment of cruelty captured on video. A reminder that how you treat people when you have power defines you more than how long you held it. And in the break room at Hartwell Manufacturing, there's still a poster on the bulletin board, but someone added something beneath it. A printed quote. Workplace respect doesn't start with a poster. It starts when someone has the courage to speak, and others have the courage to listen. Darius Cole. Here's what this story is really about. Beneath the viral video and the redemption arc, and a happy ending that doesn't happen for everyone. Doing the right thing doesn't always feel good immediately. Sometimes it feels like losing. It feels like walking to your car with your career in a cardboard box. It feels like rejection emails and stress nights and wondering if you made a catastrophic mistake. But the alternative, staying silent, has a cost too. It costs your integrity, your self-respect, your ability to look at yourself in the mirror and believe you're the person you claim to be. That cost accumulates quietly, invisibly, until one day you realize you've traded your values for security and can't remember when you made that deal. Systems punish courage until accountability forces change. Darius was fired because the system was designed to protect hierarchy, not justice. He was reinstated because documentation and public pressure made protecting hierarchy more expensive than admitting wrong. That's not cynicism. It's understanding how change actually happens. Your voice matters more than your fear. Easy to say, harder to live. But the truth is, every movement that ever changed anything started with someone deciding their words were worth the risk. Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, every whistleblower, every person who said this is wrong when everyone else said this is just how it is. Documentation changes everything. Without that video, Darius stays fired. Raymond keeps his position. The system wins. This is why recording matters, why witnesses matter, why evidence matters. Truth needs proof, and proof needs to be shared. One person's courage gives others permission. After Darius' story went viral, hundreds of people came forward with their own experiences. His willingness to risk everything made their risks feel possible. That's how movements start. Not with everyone being brave at once, but with one person being brave first. Let's talk about the racial dimension without dancing around it. Darius is a black man in Alabama defending a white woman from a white supervisor. That adds layers of risk most people won't ever fully understand. He had to be twice as calm, twice as professional, twice as careful, because anger or aggression would have been weaponized against him instantly. The stereotype says black men are threatening, aggressive, dangerous. Darius defied that in every way. Calm voice, measured words, protective rather than aggressive. And he still got fired. Because sometimes a real threat isn't how you act. It's that you challenge power at all. Yet, he did it anyway. Because right is right, regardless of risk. That's not naivety. That's principle. The modern element we can't ignore. This story doesn't end in vindication without social media. Pre-internet, pre-viral video era, Darius stays fired. The story dies in the parking lot. Technology created a mechanism for justice that didn't exist before, but only when people choose to use it, to share, to amplify, to care. The uncomfortable truth. Silence is comfortable until you're the one who needs someone to speak. Every person in that break room who looked away probably told themselves they would have spoken up if it were really serious. But it was serious. They just weren't the target. When will you be the target? When will you need someone to risk something for you? And when that moment comes, will there be anyone who learned courage from your example, or only people who learned silence? Challenge. Think about the last time you witnessed something wrong. Not criminal wrong, just wrong, unfair, unkind, unjust. Did you speak? Or did you tell yourself it wasn't your place, wasn't your business, wasn't worth the risk? Darius lost a job but gained a purpose. That's the trade. And yes, he'd tell you it was worth it. But not everyone's story ends in viral vindication and nonprofit success. Some people speak up and just lose. They don't get their jobs back. The video doesn't exist or doesn't go viral. The system crushes them and moves on. Does that mean stay silent? No. It means the courage to speak up can't be contingent on guaranteed victory. It has to come from the understanding that your integrity matters more than your comfort. Your values matter more than your fear. And sometimes doing right means doing right even when it costs everything. If this story convicted you, if it made you uncomfortable in a necessary way, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been in that break room choosing silence, or someone who paid the price for speaking. Subscribe to Living While Black and Beyond for more stories that challenge us to be the people we claim we want to be. And comment. Tell me about a time you spoke up, or a time you wish you had, because your story matters too. Thank you for being here, for engaging with stories that aren't easy, that don't fit neatly into feel-good categories, that force us to examine ourselves and our choices. These are the conversations that matter, not because they're comfortable, but because they're necessary. Living While Black and Beyond exist to tell stories that transcend race while never ignoring it. Stories that challenge us to see each other fully and hold ourselves accountable to the values we claim. Darius Cole's story is everyone's story. The choice between comfort and courage, between staying safe and standing up, between looking away and looking someone in the eye and saying, "This isn't right." Next week, I'm bringing you the story of a janitor who became a CEO by doing the one thing nobody else in the building would do, and it wasn't what you think. You want to be here for it. Until then, remember, your integrity is worth more than your comfort. Your voice is worth more than your fear. And when you speak up, even when it costs you, you give someone else permission to do the same. The world changes one voice at a time. Let yours be one of them.